Hello and welcome to the research journey. My name is Dr. Charles Bijimi, and I have very important guest in this session. This is the first of its kind, the first of the research journey, a podcast that shares experience of researchers, not just the output, but the experience behind closed doors. Here in this session, I have two very important personalities who have made a mark in their research and also in teaching. In no particular order, I want to welcome Dr. Bruno Lord Tanko, who is a researcher, an educator, a leader in the built environment, and his work sits in digital construction, cost management, and sustainability. Dr. Bruno is a senior lecturer and postgraduate course leader in the quantity surveying department at Sheffield Hallam University, where he teaches across measurement, cost management, digital construction, and sustainable practice. Also, in my with me tonight is Dr. Meek Omoragbon, who is a researcher and educator who is focused on improving building performance and energy efficiency and has made a mark in his research and is currently a lecturer at the University of Greater Manchester, Bolton. He lectures in facility management and also in across other areas of architecture, sustainability, and energy efficiency, including building performance. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the research journey. Thank you for your time and thank you for agreeing to be part of this journey of explaining or exposing the experience of researchers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. Uh, um, I'm just excited at the moment here because I have gone through your works and I've seen how much you have made in terms of impact in both teaching and research. Just to set the ball rolling, I just want to, okay, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Bruno, and I think maybe Dr. Meek, you can take the question after which. Before you went into research, and at the time maybe you wanted to go into that, what was the idea? What was we're looking at the origin story. What was that motivation in terms of did you at the beginning had a question in mind, or you just went into it and then the question came up? And Dr. Bruno, if you can start.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Charles, for this very question. I think this happened back in Nigeria when I was practicing quantity surveying. We talked a lot about value for money, right? And we found out that most projects kept overrunning costs, time, expectations, etc. And we tried to find out how can we actually address all these challenges. Then later on during my PhD, I realized that the issue wasn't just about digital tools, because initially I felt because Nigeria is a developing country, we never had digital tools, so that was a problem, or awareness of a modern management technique, which I call value engineering. So it wasn't about the awareness of these tools, it was about poor implementation and very poor institutions and systems. So that gap between theory and practice is where my curiosity turned into a research question. From then, my research now focuses on how digital technologies, particularly building information modeling, IoT, that's Internet of Things, and other data-driven systems, how they actually improve sustainability and performance in construction practice as well as in education. So that's the origin and of my research. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think Dr. Meek, you can take that question.
Okay. I'll say thank you very much. Just like Dr. Bruno has said, mine also started all the way back from Nigeria. I was in practice, obviously, in an architectural practice, and you could tell, when you are studying, when you're in the university, you get a whole lot of uh, information, and when you come back to practice, it's a different ballgame entirely. And coming to practice, you will see that yes, even though you have the ability to do certain things right, you are faced with constraints in terms of I'll cite instances where you see the people build indiscriminately without proper or appropriate planning in place. And these things continue to create that burden because it was directly and indirectly affecting the profession. So the fees of the architects, to say, you see the it was no longer measurable because people were, should I say, there were a lot of quackery, and the only way to checkmate this quackery was through the government institution, which is town planning. So it was mandated, or should I say, if you take your, before you approve a building for construction, you have to take it to the physical planning department where they will approve it and give you the go ahead. But we found out that these things were not. It wasn't really happening. So we what we did is what's the curiosity started when I left, or when I was like, how do we curb this? Because I remember calling, because obviously I used to take drawings to the from my firm, then the firm I was under. I used to take drawings to the town planning department for approval. So we follow the government approved standards and regulations. So it got to a point I called the town planning staff to say there is a building that's going on at ABC, and just I don't want to be exact with the address, and only for them to get there, they took money from the people, or the owner of the site, whether the owner or the person handling the project, and they left. I called again to say, "Did you visit?" They said no, but I later found out that they went. So the burden was like, how do we correct this? So I'm talking this time around from a a perspective of the profession. So that was where what's how my curiosity started. So during my masters, when I came for my masters in the UK, it led into an argument. Professor John Ebohon, I remember, he vividly asked, "What do we think is the problem?" So we're having challenges. Some will say, "Is the customers?" Some say, "No." Some, I was like, I was in practice. Uh, Obviously, from any perspective, from any lens you tend to look at it, they all have roles to play in making this or in exacerbating this corrupt practice. So gradually, my thinking started to form, and it just all of a sudden, I was like, how do we make this uh, put things right? Let me put it that way, so that regardless of whether the government or whether there are institutions, or to make it, uh, we also stand out. So that's where how my curiosity started. So it started based on my own prior experience in practice.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think I'll stay with you, Dr. Meek, because I think you both mentioned something about where you started, and all. I think you all started from Nigeria, and you mentioned some of the things that you observed, and maybe from your own impression were not really things that you expected to see, or expected to be happening. Do you think was there within the Nigerian system in terms of whether it is in the academic area, whether it is maybe in the in area of practice, where those things were enough motivation, or they are some kind of depressing things that would make research difficult, or there are things that you think that will even motivate you to do research? Because understanding those challenges, you find it like they may appear as stumbling blocks. So how do you view that, and then how did you cut across some of these obstacles to get to where you?
If your question is well understood,
Mm.
I wouldn't say they were stumbling blocks, but okay, I'll put it this way. As humans, or as it's just like when you go to make a study, or to you're developing yourself in a certain profession. The aim, or part of the aim, is not whether we like to call call it, if we will have to call a spade a spade, or not. Also, yes, service is part of it, but at the same time, while you want to do the right thing, you want to also make sure that you are benefiting from where you are practicing, or where you're sowing. So when you see that this, should I use the word quackery? I don't want to, I really don't like using that word quackery, because from the history of how Jasper came about, it was when fewer jobs were chasing when more jobs were chasing fewer architects. So the draftsmen were given the leverage, and so now it's the tide has turned, the table has turned. So it's no longer so. But now the architects are the ones suffering, while the draftsmen, they are the one getting. It's like taking food from the actual government approved or profession, so to say. So I wouldn't say it was kind of a stumbling block. It was a way of saying, how do we balance this? Obviously, nobody is against them, but the point is, just like we will not want to exclude the political aspect of it. The point is, these people, they are relevant. They have families to feed. Some of them are even more knowledgeable because of their years of experience. A lot of them they've been practicing for a long time. The only difference is that they don't have the theoretical backing that someone that has gone to the university to study. It's just like, I'll give you an instance. If you ask a professional, an architect, why have you designed a door to be, say, 900 in width, 2,100 meters in height, he's able to tell you a reason, due to probably anthropometrics. But these people, they'll just tell you that's how it's done.
Yeah.
So they can't really tell you. So it's not a stumbling block. I won't say it's a stumbling block, but it was a way of trying to balance how to bring these people in, while also making sure that things are done right. I think that is also one of the things that is happening now in the UK industry. Recently, I think, is it the president of RIBA, has mentioned that he's not going to register with the Architect Registration Board anymore, just because of similar, the title is protected, but the profession itself is not protected. So they have other ways. There are no ways to checkmate all these should I call it activities. So anybody, you can get a builder tomorrow to say, I want to renovate, or I want to refurbish my house. They can take a design, do whatever they want to do, and take it to the local council. I can take something tomorrow and take it to Bolton Council, because I live in Bolton, and the council will be the one to say, okay, yes, it's good to go. So now the profession is not regular. It's not, the title is protected. You can't bear the word architect, but what of the job? So similar thing is also happening in the UK. So I won't say it was a stumbling block, but it was a way of looking for how to try and balance this whole the whole idea. Like I said, politics. You remember, politics is always involved. Then it's like not just, I'm talking now not just for the profession, because they try to encourage students then to join, because students were more fluent in the use of softwares. We have 3Ds. These other ones that have the firms, that have the offices, they cannot, most of them cannot even operate a computer. So how do you tell someone that cannot operate a computer to do a 3D design that the client would not, even if you have designed rubbish or something that is not up to standard, they will be more fascinated seeing animation, seeing 3Ds compared to so those things culminated into what led to all this. So we as students, they try to then try to make sure. So even like, the different levels of membership, they try to make sure that we were in one practice or the other. So you are working under a firm. But the challenge was trying to curb this. So it wasn't a stumbling block, but it was kind of a way of seeing a motivation on how to try and balance.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't like calling it quackery, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Mm.
I think Dr. Bruno, you can have a go at it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's right about the informal, practitioners. Yeah, I also don't like calling them those names because actually they have the experience, they got experience, but they don't have the theoretical background to guide them. For instance, he also mentioned something like that. If you ask them to give reasons why you have to use, for instance, 16 mm reinforcement in a column, for instance, they will definitely try to reduce the size, not knowing the implications of doing that. So they really don't have the theoretical background, and all those things are actually, as a professional, it will help you to know the gap between having a complete professional and then just having those guys practicing. Yeah, so all these experiences are very important. They form part of our curiosity and the origin of research because you tend to identify all the problems and then you try to brainstorm and try to find solutions to solving those problems. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I can say regarding that. But Dr. Meek is
Okay.
right. We don't want to call them, those
What?
names, quacks, and we all know that they have families to feed. But again, the profession needs to be properly regulated.
Okay. Okay. Now I think you guys have made a very valid point, and of course it hits on the issue of industry and the practice. Now let's look at a small cycle of the research journey, for example, because
Mm,
because we started about asking questions. You ask questions.
mm.
You turn those set of questions into something to be tested, and then you go to collect, data or whatever it is to be able to analyze. And
Sorry, we lost the voice. We
I
can't
think you're
hear.
on mute or something. We've lost your voice. Yeah.
Mm.
No.
hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
can
can
hear
hear
you
you now.
now.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So what I was trying to say is that if you can walk us through, your experience in terms of after deciding, after from all those issues about being curious and asking questions, how did you answer those questions in terms of what data did you collect? How did you go about it? What informed you to, make that decision in terms of, getting to that level and then walking through even to the point where you publish your work? I'll start with you, Dr. Bruno.
All right, thank you very much. I think when I started, having established the problems in the construction industry, so the first thing I wanted to do is to find ways of adding value to the construction products. basically building projects. So my first topic was too wide, ambiguous. It wasn't focused at all. So my supervisor did say that, Bruno, you won't be able to achieve this because the topic was very wide. So it was something like trying to use digital technologies, and I didn't identify the technology, and modern management techniques. I didn't also identify the techniques to improve the value of construction projects, a kind of performance of construction projects. Now, performance has a lot of measurement skills, like criteria. It could be cost, time, quality, a lot of factors anyway. So I did not also define that. So they told me that it was very, very wide, and I needed to a kind of narrow the scope. Then I came back the next time and I told her that, all right, um, I have narrowed it down. I would like to develop a kind of mathematical models to predict the value and cost of construction projects in the future. She now asked me, do I really want to finish my PhD within 3 years or 5 years or 6 years? So I remember I did say 3 years. She now said, again, you have to narrow that down and be realistic. So when I started, most of my statements and questions were not smart, were not simple, were not realistic. Some of them were not achievable. So I had to kind of narrow everything down to make them simple and achievable. Now, that made me to a kind of define what performance means. That made me to also define the technical, the digital technology I wanted to use. That also made me to define the value engineering system I wanted to use. So I narrowed everything down before the topic was accepted. Now, the next layer of challenge I had was access to reliable data. Now, here we're talking about Nigeria. Access to data was something else, because how are you sure, again, the responses from the respondents, they weren't, some responses weren't honest responses. You could see the responses, they were conflicting, So yeah, so basically it's access to data, access to the stakeholders. And then at the end of the day, I had to reduce some of the questions because it was impossible for me to get the responses I really wanted to get from those organizations. Yeah, so that's the journey so far, from having a very broad topic to a kind of making me to define my topic, right? Again, even when it was accepted, I had to do a lot of reading, I had to change a lot of variables. And then when I went to the field again to collect my data, I had a lot of challenges with data collection because of access issues. Again, yeah, so that's the story around my research journey. You're muted.
Um,
Yes, we can hear you now.
all right, thank you very much. So, I mean, it's interesting actually, going through. And you mentioned something which, before I give it to ask Dr. Meek to mention. You mentioned something about conflicting response
Yeah.
from respondents. I was just
Yeah.
wondering, it's something that really, it just rings the bell actually. So how did you, in terms of that idea of respond, how did you, deal with such issues to, when you were able to, or maybe what informed you that those responses were really conflicting responses?
All right. So let me give you an instance. You could ask a respondent, are you an architect? He will say yes. Then maybe another question, do you carry out 5D beam? That's costing using building information modeling, which is basically a quantity surveying rule. He will say yes. And then you tend to wonder, how will a quantity surveyor design perfectly That's the job of an architect, and how will also an architect cost, the building project, and that's the job of the QS. So those are some of the conflicting responses I had. So what I did was to rephrase the questions, right, to make them very simple and straightforward. So again, the good thing is that was at the pilot stage, so it didn't affect the main research. Yeah, so that's why the pilot study is always very important. It will help you to identify all those lapses, and then you have to refine the questions before you go out for the final administration of the questionnaires. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Meek. If you could just share your experience and how you know what I mean, how was the journey like, and possibly answer some of the questions we put forward for Doctor.
Okay. Mine is a bit of a long one, but I'll try as much as I can to make it as brief as I can. Just like I was saying earlier, my aim actually initially was to try and see how to balance what is happening in practice and between the formal profession and the informal actors of building design. So picking or coming for my master's and now coming for architecture and sustainability, it opened a whole new paradigm, and I started to view things from a different lens. So I wouldn't say I deviated, but I felt like there was when we began to take lectures on sustainability, sustainable development, I began to get infuriated in the sense that we live, we copying everything. Obviously, it's still part of what I've been talking about. When I say the informal actors just keep adopting certain building practice and stuff like that. So and it's spawned something, and I was like, why do we now say, or why have we neglected our own culture? Why have we neglected our tradition to say the Western method of design and construction is superior? Because where we learned, what I learned in school, it's like I said, it was different from what we got in practice, but it was still better. So when I came here and I saw then if you dare not design a building with over 6 or 7 meters without natural lighting, but here you see a full hall, full residence, and it's artificially lit. And so those things began to, so it was like still in the frame of trying to get things right. Now you are seeing things from a different perspective. So I began to understand, okay, what is it that we are not getting? So I began to personal observation and conclude from myself, oh, probably because they have, for instance, steady power supply. It's easy for them to design a toilet and not have a window because they believe they have regular power, and they have a extractor that will help to, so those things started to creep in. So it spurred my interest into, so I don't want to say correct, but when you made the introduction, you mentioned I'm into building performance. They are all a subset of sustainable design or sustainable architecture.
Yeah.
So that is my focus. So going through this, I started to say, okay, let me start from somewhere. And I was to be supervised, obviously, my dissertation by a professor who was in the field of sustainable development. And I was like, I wanted to investigate. Well, I'll say that was I can't pinpoint the actual topic I chose, but I explained and he understood. But I ended up, or at the end, I chose investigating the sustainability of traditional African homes. I had to add the word traditional just because of uh, availability, or just to help me narrow down my scope. And I won't say it was my making, but I would say it was from guidance. So I was guided to make sure, because if I say I want to investigate, now I'm talking of how do we say these buildings, or how do we talk about sustainability of buildings? How do I recruit? How do I ensure that, am I going to go through the whole of Africa? Am I going to go through the whole of, if I'm choosing Nigeria, am I going to go through the whole of Nigeria? We have rich culture. We have our lines does not, our architecture is a culture. It's an identity. That's the word. So, so your own architecture is your identity. So, are we trying to now erode that just to copy the Western? And we are not even just going towards the Western building styles. We are also uh, taking their building materials. We are forgetting that we have our own culture that our architecture has always catered for, and it just reminds me of. I remember when I was young, when I went to the. I can't remember how old I was, but I know I was very young then. When I went with my parents to the village, because we live in Nigeria, we live in the city. um I had a drink from a water, and it was cold, even when there was no electricity, there was no fridge. So all those things, they started to creep in, and like, why are we neglecting our own?
Natural.
And yeah, and now trying to go into something that is imported. So it was at that point I started to formulate my own, or that is where the concept started from. I did a study which is not published, but I'm thinking of even trying to publish it now, just refine and publish. And when I wanted to carry the same charisma towards my PhD, so when I was doing my PhD, uh, I intended to go into to delve more into what I started in my from or well from the very beginning. Let me put it that way. But in my masters, so my my research started, and the publication I have is from, it's an extract from my study. So the major challenge for me, firstly, I won't necessarily say, just like Dr. Tanko said, I won't say, I'm not saying it was not a challenge. It's also a challenge getting the data. But my major challenge was trying to narrow it down. So it was as if when you tell A, they tell you. I remember, because I had series of some episodes, interesting episodes, I'll call it. But I had a series of changes of supervisor even in my first early stage of my PhD.
Research.
And they kept when I kept explaining, they asked me questions. What do you want to do? I explained. So then I didn't understand. I said, I want to do this. He said, okay, how do you want to do it? I explained. Then he gave me options. So the more I explained, the more he gave me options. So it was like it was going very wide, but it was trying to help me narrow it. So I was like, okay, so I'm going this way, I'm going this way, I'm going this way. So he said, no, you have to choose. He said, you can't do it all. So that was a major challenge. The major challenge is trying to know, when you have that passion, you have that zeal for something, and now they are telling you that it's too broad, and you are like, no, this is what I want to do. So my major challenge was being able to resolve within myself. So, and I kept on saying, well, this is what, when he said you are going, and he said, okay, I said, okay, let me use, for instance, the building envelope. And when I'm going towards the building envelope, and they'll tell you, building envelope is also broad. So I'm like, you are pushing me away from my initial. So, but the bottom line is, at the end of the day, I came to understand that there are laid down procedures, and ways by which you are able to answer research questions. Otherwise, you will spend 50 years, and if you have to go by your motivation, you will spend 50, if not 100 years trying to do a simple, not, I won't say simple, trying to achieve your interests. So, but at the end of the day, we got onto it, and if you see my thesis, which is published, you will see that I can, for instance, I talked about some aspect of building information modeling is there. I have some aspect of building data capture.
Okay.
I have some aspects of the survey that I published. That one is so I can bring out a whole different lot from it, but obviously due to financial constraint, I couldn't publish them all as a journal. So I just published it as but that was my major challenge. Was then just like you mentioned, in terms of data, I will revert back to, obviously we're talking of Nigeria. Now I remember that I had to travel to Nigeria. I went to Nigeria. Before I went, I wanted to spend limited amount or period of time. So I was trying to put everything in place before leaving. I did. I started probing, because I was trying to get the information about building survey. Because if you remember, I said in some aspect of my work, I have building information capture. So how do I capture building information if I have to investigate the performance of the building before I will even think of improving? Because you cannot just say a building is not sustainable when you don't have that evidence. So and that was how I realized that building survey is not even a standalone profession in Nigeria. So it's part of the building profession. And just to buttress what Dr. Tanko said, I started to have problems because they are all builders, they believe they are all building. Most of them don't even carry out building survey. But I have to rephrase, and because obviously I was the one doing my this was a semi-structured interview. I had to sometimes, that's why you see some people that understood the question, they were able to just, I would say people that were more involved in actual building surveying, it was easier for them to get me the answers. But people that were not, they kept on referring to the building, their profession as builder as a builder to answer my question, and I kept on refining, asking follow-up questions to be able to extract those information that I wanted, and that was how I was able to do it. So through snowballing process, I was able to get all those information. So one refers me to the other, and then for the survey, because I also did the survey, I think the survey is what I've published. I tried to go through the Nigerian Institute of Architects. When I was in Nigeria, I also visited some firms that I'm aware of, and I used the chapter in those states on their WhatsApp group. I kept sending reminders and reminders, and I would say I got a good response, but I think if from expectation, I would say it's less than what I should have uh, gotten from them. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. I think I'm happy you guys have you know go, talk more about your experience in terms of the process of collecting data, the issues about verifying the information you're getting from the respondents and stuff like that. But one thing that I think I got from both was I think I just want to take you back to it because I think you all address it, somehow. But I just wanted to, if you can talk more about it, it's just about the choice of words in your research title in terms of what you're, because I remember Dr. Bruno and even Dr. Meek said something about, you give out, you bring out a title and they say, okay, this is broad. So the choice of words in framing your title, does it really matter in terms of research? I'll start with you, Dr. Bruno.
All right. So I will say once you start your research, you shouldn't bother much about the title. Just try to know the area of focus and then try to know your aim. The aim is very, very important. What are you trying to investigate or what are you trying to explore? From the aim, you should be able to have your objectives. Your objectives should be those steps you intend to carry out in order to achieve your aim. Now, once you have your objectives, and your objectives are measurable because you need to use the Bloom's taxonomy, all those verbs. Try to use those verbs that are simple, not high level verbs. So you would use something like to investigate as an objective. Definitely is wrong, right? So make sure your objectives are achievable and realistic. From that point, the next thing rather, you need to ask yourself is, okay, I have these objectives. How do I intend to achieve objective 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? How do I intend to collect the data, analyze the data, and how will I conclude the finding for each of the objectives? And ask yourself again whether these objectives actually answer the aim at the end of the day. So once you finish that, you should be able to go back to your title. Now, your title should have a very direct link to your objective, I mean, to your main aim. We usually say that you can actually repeat your title as your main aim by just introducing a verb to investigate, blah, 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 and repeat your title. So, but your title shouldn't have ambiguous words. Your title should have straightforward words. For instance, I gave you an instance that you want to use digital technologies to improve the performance of construction projects. The use of digital technologies is wrong. We have a lot of digital technologies. Are you talking of AI? Are you talking of blockchain, or is it
Okay.
building information modeling? Even building information modeling, what dimension are you looking at? Are you looking at just the design or scheduling or costing? So we have different dimensions of building information modeling. So for your title, it has to be it's something that can be changed even on your Viva day. Yeah, even on your Viva day, your title can be changed anytime. So the most important thing, your aim is very important, but from your aim, it will actually help you to define your title clearly. So yeah, so once you have your objectives, your aim, that will help you to kind of have a better title. Yeah, so but I would definitely advise students that the title shouldn't be of great concern for you now. The most important thing is have your aim and your objectives, and how do you intend to achieve all those objectives. That is most important. For my PhD students or master students, the first thing I tell them is go and read 50 articles, summarize those articles into, try to know their titles. 50 articles, try to know the titles, study the titles, and relate the titles to the objectives, the major findings, the data collection technique, data analysis technique. Where was the research carried out? Is it in the UK or where? Is it in Nigeria or wherever?
Mm.
Then at the end of the day, they have to synthesize all these articles and give me the summary. And then it will help them to a kind of know how to a kind of develop their own title, their aim and
Mm.
objectives. That's the first thing I always ask them to do. Go read
Mm.
50 articles. Undergraduate, I ask them to read just 20 articles. Go and read those articles and summarize those articles. Try to understand why the titles were coined that way. That will help them to know, what they intend to do. And then titles should not be very, very long. Most articles or schools will tell you the title shouldn't be more than 12 words. So your title shouldn't be very, very long. It shouldn't be a statement or a very long
Mhm.
sentence. Yeah. It should be straightforward. And then, yeah, from your title, anybody should be able to understand what you're trying to carry out. So your title should actually pass the message. If I am a novice and I read your title, I should be able to understand what you're trying to achieve. So that's why I say your title shouldn't be ambiguous, should be straightforward, should be simple, and should explain what you intend to do. So some researchers will tell you that for your title, state what you intend to do. Are you developing something, or are
Mm.
you exploring that thing, right?
Mm.
And then write the main variable, the main subject. What are you exploring? Yeah. How do you intend to explore it? You can kind of include a word that answers that. In fact, you can also include a location. Where do you intend to, you know, carry out the research? All in one title.
Mm.
So your
Mm.
title should be concise and should be straightforward. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. I think it makes a lot of sense, in terms of, because I understand that most importantly, like you said, the aim and objective should be able to drive your process. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I like to ask Dr. Meek a bit something a bit different from this particular question, because uh, because while you were explaining your journey, and it said something about how you were able to come to your final decision, your decision finally, in terms of what you wanted to do. That's the topic, and how you. So how was the relationship with your your research cycle, in terms of the team, able to help you do that? Was it something that I think is significant for any researcher, or is something that a researcher can do alone? You know, Not excluding your research supervisor, but at least your team, because sometimes you have others who are also in the same school with you, or in the same department. They may not be doing research in the same with the same. I mean, it's obvious you can't do the same thing, but at least you are within the same area of study. And I mean, how was that important in terms of using these people to achieve the aim of your research?
Thank you for that question. Um, just like I mentioned earlier, it was a challenge for me to live or to think of, but it was all the major idea is, even though they are not your supervisors, even though they are not even grounded in research, there is something that we should understand. As researchers or as academics, you have an audience.
Hmm.
And while you are trying to do this, you should not neglect the audience. It's just like if I'm going to if I'm making food, I'm not going to, or something that I'll have to put on sale. I'm not making it for myself. So I have to put consider the views of other people. So in that sense, you also have to think of what's other. So these, I don't want to say, but these are also driving forces that can help you to narrow down. Or so sometimes when you discuss with them, they are a whole lot of the time they make you see things from an angle you've never thought about, or they make you see things from, you think sometimes it could be it could appear like you're just talking and they are not even in the field, but at the end of the day you see that when a goat goes back to chew the cord, you come to realize that some of those things, sometimes when you are now working and you see that those things are things that you now put into play. I'll give instances of in your research circle. I'll put it this way. When you submit a paper for publication, even though it's been scrutinized by 2, 3, 4, 5 people, you still get comments from it by the other reviewers. So it's the same in the same vein. When you have colleagues, they also have they have their own they have personal experiences. They also have they're also talking from the point where their supervisors or supervisory team will have also commented or made some statements, and those things. I think it is very, very key in any research that I know sometimes we tend to want to believe that we are so invested or or we are the expert in a particular field, but ideally, or it's not usually so. Sometimes we get insights from even people outside. So I will be telling a lie if I said if I come here to say those or people around me did not help to shape my research focus. I'll be telling a very big lie. So it was not just about just the supervisor or the supervisory team, but also from peers and even people, just whoever cares to listen when I speak about my research. So it all went a long way in trying to refine and narrow down.
Okay. Yeah, I think I mean it's important because I know that I remember my research supervisor mentioned something about having your community around you, and also said something. He's always saying this in like, you're not solving the problem of the world, but you're making a contribution to solve, at least to make your own contribution to solving the problem somehow, no matter as and however little that contribution is. You're making your contribution to solve the problem of the world. Okay. So I agree with you in terms of like having that team around you to also shape that, ideas and coming up with the contribution you want to make.
And
Something,
to add to that,
okay.
you will be surprised. When I was conducting my interviews, I also had comments about the topic, because before when you are going, you present your topic and you tell them what you are doing. You let them know the aim, the objectives, and while I was before I started asking the questions, I explained my study, and I had feedback, comment from more than 3 of the interviewees before they even answered. So it all helped to shape.
So sorry, I would like to also support what Dr. Meek just said. It's not just the supervisory team, but as you said, Dr. Charles, the community. There's this popular saying that PhD or master's research, any research, is all about sharing, sharing, sharing. So my advice to all the listeners is once you start your research, please don't keep it to yourself. Share with your peers, share with the community, share with the supervisory team. It will surprise you what will come out from some of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think I'll stay with you, Dr. Bruno, on this question. Like, you know, I'm going back to the point you made about data collection and then,
you.
interaction with your respondents. Like,
Yeah.
should you go to meet the respondents as a well-informed or maybe an expert in the field, or you should just go blank and waiting for them to feed you with the information? I mean, as a researcher, is it that you should go prepared, knowing it all, or you are going empty and they're filling you with the information in terms of what you're going to use to do the analysis? Which one is it? Something both ways, or just it has to be one way? Just if
I
it makes
think
sense.
generally you should have a balance. You should have a balance of both. Because most of them are not as knowledgeable as you are. There's this thing we call cognitive load. You as a person, you have a lot of information about your area. So if you start telling them a lot of information, that's not their area, they may miss the point. So you have to use plain language. You have to use less technical
Yeah,
terminologies.
yeah,
So you have to talk to them as if they are novice, even
yeah.
though they are respondents within your area. Because
Mm,
there must be a communication. When you're
yeah,
talking to them, they should be able to understand you. They should be able to understand what actually you need from them, and then
yeah,
they should give you the right answer. As Dr. Meek said that some of the respondents were not actually, he had to be refining, like the
mm,
building engineers, they were actually answering the questions based on their profession. And he was talking about, the
Building
building
survey.
condition, the building survey. And here are you talking about something else. He wanted to know the actual state of the building.
mm,
Yeah. So yeah, that's the challenge that some of us will be facing. So you need to make sure that your message is actually passed across.
mm,
Yeah, by using very, very straightforward and simple. There's something I wanted to tell you to say, but I forgot. It's also related to this data collection.
mm,
I found out that in Nigeria there are some systems that are here in the UK that are already proven to be of great benefit. They are part of their system here, but in Nigeria, they are not really part of our formal processes. Let me give you an
mm,
example. Value engineering, for instance, I developed a framework and I published it in one of the good journals. I wanted to carry out a research where I wanted to see how value engineering is being done in practice in Nigeria. But I found out that it's not actually part of our procurement system in Nigeria. So
mm,
I wanted to do something, but at the end of the day, the only I had to change the focus to trying to find a framework approach where I
mm,
will identify the conditions that will allow the Nigerian government to implement such technique instead of me to kind of monitor how that technique is being done in Nigeria. It wasn't
mm,
there. So I had to change the focus to, all right, develop a framework that will establish the conditions, the requirements for the implementation of such technique.
mm,
So these are some of the challenges we face, like the sustainability, Dr. Meek, that you were actually going through. If you come to the UK here or any other developed country, you find out that they have regulations, they have a lot of things regarding that. But if you go back to our country now, it's there. We do everything, but some of those things are not being formalized.
mm.
So again, that's one of the challenges that I faced personally.
Okay,
So again,
okay.
another thing I wanted to also find out, Dr. Charles, is that if you visit some of these countries, these techniques actually work here. They work. You could see them, the benefits, right? Like they work, the building information modeling, your value, engineering or whatever system. But I find it difficult to understand why are these techniques not working in most of the developing
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
Why? So at the end of the day, I was thinking it was because the countries are poor. We didn't have access to digital tools, but I was wrong, right? It was all about culture, all about the people, about poor implementation, about the
Yeah.
government being
Yeah.
serious to make this part of the system. So, but I found out that this actually came very late because I was thinking, oh, it's lack of digital skills, it's lack of digital tools, all those stuff. But they weren't the issues. Yeah. So these are some of the challenges that I identified. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Dr. Meek, you want to add to it, or just ask the next question?
Just to, I won't say, but just to buttress the point is because the question is, or I'll just put it like this: you don't just go, like you said, you have to try and balance it. It's just like when you are going to collect data, you can't just go and just start asking questions. They need to also see that you have some a little background. Should I say little? Yeah, it could be much to them, but you have to try and explain, or because obviously if someone is coming to you to either for an interview or to interview you, or to even if it's just for a questionnaire survey, or stuff like that, you definitely will need, the person will need to tell you at least some elements or some parts of also what he or she understands and why he or she is trying to carry out that kind of study. So yes, in that sense, you are going with the point of being knowledgeable, but you also let them know that that is where you are limited. You are limited in the aspect, or that's why you need them. And that is where their own experience, that's where their own knowledge, that's where their own expertise is of immense value to the study that you are trying to do. So you don't just go like a novice, but rather you let them know that because I kid you not, once this thing, or once you start the interview and the questions starts to come and the responses, when you start to get answers, you'll be forced to sometimes not because you want to show off that you have or you've done your literature, but just for them to for them to break down, because sometimes you don't get me wrong, pilot study is very good, but I still see it as it's the closest, but it's still not. That is why I will always say most times have follow-up questions. If you have not done a proper literature, if you don't know what you're doing, once you are doing, I'm using an interview for example, once they are going off tangent, or not necessarily off tangent, they can be saying things that may be too complex for your analysis. So in that sense, now you have to now say, and sometimes, like I say, sometimes you try and calm the atmosphere, because sometimes it's just like an interview. When you tell somebody I'm coming to do an interview, they want to see it as an opportunity for them to express themselves in that kind of light. But the ability for you to bring it down, to say, make it kind of, even is something formal, but make it informal, is what you already, is for you to let them know. So once they see that you are, I don't want to say you are on the same level or on par, but they will try to it will tone down and they just go straight, almost like giving you the required information, rather than when you are coming and they just feel like you don't know. They can be very verbose, and they start to try to exhibit those kind of attitude. So in a simple way, yes, it's the ability for you to balance what you know, and also make them to understand that what their value is, or they are bringing much value to what you are doing. So that's why you are sorting or seeking for their experience or qualification or opinion.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, thank you very much. I've listened to both your comments, and then I think you mentioned something about, I think the issue about culture, the issue about implementing things that, are actually working here back in developing countries is an issue. And I remember it just reminded me of some popular saying around in media space where some people say culture with each strategy for
For
breakfast.
breakfast.
Yeah, and
Proof
then
by
someone
saying,
also said the test of any law, any policy is in its implementation.
yeah.
So you see, once you have a faulty culture, all your strategy and effort towards implementation is always an issue. Now that takes me to a question I wanted to ask, because I mean, making reference to what you said about making things work in the developing country. If they can work in the advanced developing countries, why are they not working in those developing countries? And I think maybe the question is like, how do we feature African system in such a way that these ideas and these researches that have been done over years would actually come into, into as in action physically, so that people can feel the impact. I know you've mentioned in some parts of it, like some part, like what the reasons why we have, but how can you just, like, if you can just frame it, this issue of strategy, this issue of culture, this issue of implementation. People have done this research, and of course, they have come with interesting recommendations, but still, there's a gap in terms of the developing countries and the developed countries, and it's not about the lack of information. It's something related to doing something. So, can you just walk us through what you think is best? I'm starting with you, Dr. Bruno.
Yeah, so I would also emphasize the statement by, is it the popular Rise TV anchor,
Mm,
refer that strategy we eat is a culture for breakfast or something like that.
mm,
So yeah, I
mm,
think the thing is just the main thing there is change of mindset,
mm,
and then our institutions need to work. How do we intend to make them work? That is, we need to discuss that here. I think it's the systems, the institutions, the culture, the
mm.
people,
Yeah,
resistance to
yeah.
change, resistance to adopt all these new technologies. That
Yeah.
is the problem. So how do we, I don't know, is it poverty? Is it related to poverty? I don't know whether there is a correlation between our poor state and resistance to change. I don't know. So I think that's one
Mm,
of the main problems. How do we, again, if you look at the UK, let me give you an example of building information modeling. The adoption here is not still up to 90%. And one of the challenges is getting all the stakeholders to be on the same page, which is very difficult. How do you look at a supply chain, for instance? If the client is interested, how about the suppliers? How about the subcontractors? And we have several subcontractors. Are they also going to send their bids or quotation wherever? Is it going to be within the digital environment? These are some of
mm,
the challenges. Now, going back to developing countries, how do you get all of them to be, interested in this change? So
okay.
how do
Yeah.
we change and get sincerely to adopt this thing? It actually pains us that we love our country. We don't have any country except Nigeria. But when it comes to implementation, that has always been an issue. We have good policies. In fact, it will surprise you that if you go on Google Scholar now or on Scopus, if you just type any research area, it will surprise you that the first 10 research, you see a Nigerian research there, Nigerian author,
Mm,
beautifully carried out, but nobody implements our beautiful research
mm,
back home. So the thing is, how do we, I know you asked me a question on, about how do we get to change, so I think I'll also allow Dr. Meek to contribute on that. To change is a very, very difficult question. It has to be our mindset. The world is moving very fast. There's globalization, digitalization, and then we have to also move with the rest of the world. You can't be static, and you can't be resistant to change. We have to change, and we have to accept some of these best policies and best techniques and implement them. Now, the other thing again we have to look at should be our regulators, right? Government. I think at the end of the day, you must mention leadership. How do we implement? How do they get? They need to implement some of these beautiful ideas. That's just the challenge. Yeah, and again, as I said, I was thinking access to digital technology was a problem, but it wasn't the problem. The problem is about culture. It's about the system. It's about institutions. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Dr. Meek, you want to add on to that?
If I want to add anything, Dr. Charles, this may sound funny, but we will have to carry out a research on that, carry out a study for us to be able to tell, because it's not, we can view it from a different perspective, and we still will not come. It's a chicken and eggs kind of situation. I usually say we are a product of the government, and if we also look at it, the government is from us. So that's why I say it's a chicken and egg situation. I'll give instances of, this is my own opinion. Like I said, we have to carry out a research to be able to determine that, or probably we ask people in policy and stuff. Probably they will be able to help with. But in my own thinking, I think if let me give you, if you can name one kind of thing that happens in Nigeria that is very common, and the same set of people that leave Nigeria and they come to the UK, they stop to do it.
Contract inflation.
They come to America, they stop to do it. They go to Canada, they stop to do it. Why? And the moment they cross back to their country, I was in Nigeria a few years back, and you would think nobody knows that you have left the shores of the country. You try to be as simple as you can, and you use a taxi, and immediately you get into the taxi, you take your seat belt, and the next question is, are you from outside the country?
Why are you wearing your seatbelt?
Why are you wearing your seatbelt? So you go somewhere, you go, I went to the bank and I'm standing just queuing, and somebody walked up to me and started asking me, because they see that your composure is different. They know the kind of. So now, why I say it's a chicken and egg situation, if we say, okay, I want to agree on this aspect that it is a product of the government, because if the government enforces it, why do you, okay, let's go into the health sector. The other 2 days ago, not 2 days, well, this year, is it this year or December? Chimamanda, I think she lost the son. And people started complaining of Nigerian doctors and stuff like that. And when they come to the UK, the Nigerian doctors, what happens? Do they make those mistakes?
They don't.
So now, just to refer back, you mentioned, say you don't know if it's poverty, but look at the system. The system here does not give the doctor the right to make decision.
Why? Because there are repercussions to their actions.
Decisions are based on certain things. If you go to the hospital, you have an illness or something, they will do something, they will ask you the questions. Based on what you ask, they do a test. But if you go to a Nigeria hospital, if they ask you to do a test, first of all, here, the test is probably within the hospital, they will do it. But in Nigeria, they'll tell you go to a different lab, and sometimes the whole system is cumbersome. How do you somebody is sick, then you don't even have the resource to be doing all those things. And what will the doctor do? The doctor is forced to make difficult decisions. You see here, you see a nurse will tell you, in A&E, in this, that. Have you seen a Nigerian nurse that is a specialist in one field? No. They do all of it. Why? Because you don't know where you will be faced. Probably they specialize, I don't know, but they can do almost everything. You can go to the pharmacy or the chemist in Nigeria and they will treat you, even if the person does not have any medical something.
Correct.
Yeah.
So now, how do you valid that with? So you can't say, so this, yes, we are talking of enforcement. If individuals, for instance, are saying they want to be upright, the people will come against. Just being an organization, say 5 of you, 10 of you, maybe in the place or in the, and let me say the others 9 are taking bribe and you are not taking bribe. And just watch in the next 2 weeks or two, and you see the allegations that will come against you. Why? For being upright.
Your position will be changed.
Thank you. So
Okay. Yeah.
now that's why I say it's a chicken and egg situation. I will say majorly is the government, but where is the government coming from?
It's from the people. Yeah.
The people that
you're right.
They are very, very, very effective on the social media. They criticize. They are very critical of the government and blah blah blah. And a new government comes into power and gives them appointment, and you see the tone changes. Immediately they leave power again. You see they come back to their old self and they start to criticize. Then you will be wondering what is happening. So sometimes when things like this are happening, I'm like, we deserve what we get. And people be like, oh, do you hate Nigeria that much? I'm like, this is not a matter. It's just that sometimes it's just, the truth is people love, when there's a point to which you will love to be told, people love that you reiterate the lies they already believe in, that you tell them a different truth. Something that is very, so they rather believe that, no, this is what I believe, or this is, even though I know it's a lie, just keep saying it. And from there, so like I said, it's not something we can easily debate and get, because we'll get different points unless we want to carry out a research. But if, in my opinion, if we are going to start anything, we have to start with a serious. I remember, let me give an instance. When Adams Oshomole was governor of Edo State, he went to the office, some offices then, and because obviously they call them civil servants, and or many of them come to work around 9, 10 or so. And guess what? The next week, everybody was at work by 9 o'clock, 8 a.m. People were already at work, just because one person made a move to say he went to the office and he did not find the person there. And so it was like, how can a government worker not be at work by 8 a.m.? But these are some of the issues, and it's a very difficult situation. Even if we carry out a study to say this or that, at the end of the day, you also, like Dr. Bruno said, you go on Google Scholar, Scopus, whatever, you put it and you see Nigerians and everything. There are recommendations, whatever it is they are doing elsewhere. They are doing, we have them, but who is going to? And even when people that have the will, the zeal, and the power to do it are in power, or they are in position, what of the people? Because you are not an island, you cannot do this thing by yourself. So the people, that's why sometimes you see, as I don't want to use the word little, sometimes even advisors, they give the advisors can even give you wrong information. Like use Kestama, for instance. He cannot be everywhere at the same time in the UK. So we have advisors in different fields. What if those people come and tell him something different? He will act based on their information or based on the judgment that they've made. So that is why I say we are a part of the government, and until it's going to be, though the point is the government needs to, but it's going to be a collective effort. So it has to. So that's where the complexity lies, in my opinion.
I agree with you. You know, it's just something that we need a complete reset, and every person, every actor is important in terms of making contribution for the change. It's not something that is coming for, it should come from one person, I think. So I'm trying to round up now. I want to ask just the last question, and I want you guys to, just give me the answer in just a sentence or two, like, judging from your experience, what you've learned, what you've gone through as a researcher, as an educator, as a leader, as a lecturer. What would you keep in terms of your research? What are the things that you've done during your course or as you do your research? What are the things that you would, keep? As in, I want to keep this. And what are the things that you feel like you need to put them away? Things that you did while you're going through your research, like some of the things that, I wish I didn't do them. Or, these are the things I did, and I'm sure I can do them again. I mean, as a researcher. I'll start with you. The last person was okay. I'll start with you, Dr. Bruno. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. I believe this should be brief and straightforward.
Yeah.
What I will keep is relevance. Your research should be relevant, and your research question should be durable. Durable in the sense that when I started my research, I aligned my topic to a software. Now, software could change, right? So if the research questions is not relevant in 10 years time due to change in because of software or whatever, then that means it's not, your research question is not durable and it's not that relevant. So rather than aligning your research to a particular software or a particular tool, align it to the actual problem. If the problem is about people or culture, right? If the problem is about value improvement, if the problem is about align that research question to that, that will give it the relevance over time. But if you align it with something that will not give you relevance in 10 years or 5 years time, it means that your research question has an issue, has a problem. So make sure your research question has relevance over time. So so that's one thing I know I will keep relevance. And how do I make sure it's relevant? Is by actually looking at the realities in the industry. What are the problems in the industry? And these problems, how do you intend to bridge the gap between theory and practice, the realities? That will help you to develop a very relevant research question. And the other thing that I will do away with is impatience. I can be very impatient. Yeah, that's one thing I know I want to do away with. When you want to produce good results, you have to be patient, especially within the construction environment. You have to be patient. You can't just rush things, right? So as a researcher, you have to be patient. So definitely that's one thing I would like to do away with. And I would like to keep the relevance of my research question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Meek, you want to go, please?
Yeah, in my own, if there's something I will actually want, or that I'll say is I see as it's should I don't want to call it a collaboration, but having being open to criticism. So put it like that. So it's not like you are collaborating, but be open to other ideas, like to see things from a different perspective. You don't need to adhere strictly to all those perspectives, but it's always good to have a different lens to see things from, a different angle. So just obviously, just like in academia, they'll tell you, look at what you do from the students. Or you also have to look, yeah. So you that is a very, in my opinion, I think that one is very key. So then also I'll say be resilient. So if you are resilient in whatever it is you do, that's the only way you can actually be able to see things. So when people criticize and stuff like that, you're still able to carry on. And in the same light, what I will like to do away with is trying to keep things to myself, instead of, so it's the same thing but in opposite forms.
Yeah,
So
the opposite from that.
yeah, so just trying to keep things to yourself, and I don't want to say you are hiding it, but you know. So if you are able, I believe people, for any study or any research, you should be able to, or in a career like this, when you're doing a research, you should be able to do away with keeping your things to yourself or by yourself, which uh, it's not too helpful. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Meek. And Dr. Meek is a lecturer at the University of Greater Manchester, Bolton. And thank you, Dr. Bruno is also a senior lecturer at the University of Sheffield Hallam University, sorry, and also a postgraduate course leader at that same university. So thank you for being part of this podcast. You are my founding guest for this session, and it's a joy to have you. We had a very interesting conversation and honest to the point. I look forward to having you one more time again in the course of the episodes that will come in future. I really thank you because it has been a, a lot of exposure into things that we only didn't see. We only saw the product or the end product of the research. But some of the things that you said has exposed us to understanding, the things that go behind the end product of research, such as the journal publication or the thesis. Thank you for your time. I will be, pleased to have you again. I can't stop repeating it because I enjoyed myself this evening. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. And want to say to the listeners and viewers who would also listen to this to take advantage of this interesting conversation and join us and be part of this journey as we expose the ideas and the experiences of researchers, early career researchers and experienced researchers in the field all through. So thank you for your time. I look
Thank you
forward
for having
to
me.
having you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you
so
for
much.
Thank you.
having me.
So
Yeah.
till we
Yeah.
meet again,
All right.
hold on a minute. Thank you so much. So thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.